Welcome to Mr. Chalk's Revision Tips. In this video, we will look at 5 kingdoms, changes to the system, and the 6 kingdom system. So, it became very difficult to group some organisms in the past, so we came up with a system called the 5 kingdom system. So we're going to look at where plant and animal cells fit into this, where fungi cells fit into this, and where bacteria fit into this, as well as a few other bits. So prokaryotes are single-celled. They can move sometimes, or they might be stationary. They've got no chloroplasts or other organelles. Most importantly, they have no nucleus. So sometimes they might be referred to as mammalia. They've got no nucleus. They've got a loop of naked DNA called plasmid. They've got no chromosomes, no membrane-bound organelles. The cell wall of bacteria contains peptidoglycan, composed as sugars and amino acids. Archaea cell walls do not contain this, and they've got smaller ribosomes than eukaryotic cells. Protists are single-celled, usually, and move using cilia or flagella. An example of a protista might be an amoeba. So they're sometimes called protists. They're eukaryotic, so they have a nucleus. They're single-celled. They're commonly found in water. There's a huge diversity of them, and organisms show characteristics of both plant and animal cells. So they include things like algae, seaweed, amoeba, and plasmodium, which is the malaria parasite. They're mostly free living, which means that they can live out in the world by themselves. They have autotrophic and heterotrophic nutrition. Right, fungi are multicellular. They've got a cell wall, and organisms include nucleus but no chloroplasts. So the eukaryotes, so they have a nucleus. They can be single-celled, such as yeast, or multicellular. They have mycelium that consists of hyphae. They've got cell walls made of chitin. They are free-living and saprophytic, which means that they digest the food outside of the cells and then absorb it. And they do this by excreting enzymes onto what they're going to try and digest. They reproduce by releasing spores, and the cytoplasm is spread throughout a multinucleate in fibrous fungi. Plantae, so plants are multicellular and most don't move. So the eukaryotes, so they have a nucleus, multicellular. The cells are surrounded by a cellulose cell wall. They have a large vacuole in the middle of the cells. They've got chlorophyll and chloroplasts. They are autotrophic, so they're producing the food by photosynthesis. They can either be non-vascular, or they can be vascular. So vascular plants include flowering plants, trees, conifers, ferns, etc. Animalia are the cells that make up us. So they're eukaryotic, so they have a nucleus. They're multicellular. They've got muscles and nerve system which enable them to locate and digest food. Most Animalia have a gut. They fertilise eggs to develop into a blastula. Invertebrates include arthropods, mollusks, segmented worms, etc. Chordates include the vertebrates, including fishes, amoebas and reptiles. So, over time, the classification system has changed, and this is due to advances in technology. So, we now know that archaeobacteria are a group of microorganisms considered to be an ancient form of life that evolved separately from bacteria and blue-green algae. Eubacteria, or true bacteria, are single-celled prokaryotic microorganisms that have a range of characteristics and are found in various conditions throughout parts of the world. So all types of bacteria fall under this title apart from archaeobacteria. So archaeobacteria are a group of microorganisms considered to be an ancient form of bacteria. So archaeobacteria diverse group of bacteria, so the prokaryotes, sometimes called archaea. Archaeobacteria are contrasted with eubacteria, from which they differ biochemically in the arrangement of bases in their ribosomal RNA and the composition of their plasma membrane and cell walls. So there are three major known groups of archaeobacteria. So these are the methogens, the halophiles and the thermophiles. So the methogens are bacteria that produce methane. The halophiles are bacteria that thrive in high salt concentrations. And thermophiles are the heat-loving bacteria found near hydrothermal vents and hot springs. Archaeobacteria emerged at least 3.5 billion years ago and live in environments that resemble conditions existing when the Earth was a lot younger than it is now. Eubacteria, considered as true bacteria. So eubacteria are differentiated from archaeobacteria primarily based on the chemical composition of their cellular constituents. So for example, the bacterial cell walls are composed of peptidoglycan, whereas archaea walls are composed of a protein carbohydrate molecule. Bacteria cell membranes are composed of fatty acids joined to glycerol by ester bonds, while archaea membranes are composed of isoprenoids rather than glycerol linked fatty acids. In addition, archaeobacteria or archaea have more complex ribonucleic acid polymerase than bacteria.
Thanks for watching.